Hi, honey.
Welcome.
Wait.
What?
Wait for 10. 1, 2, 3, 10. We've got to wait for 10.
1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4 banana, 5 banana, 6 banana, 7 banana, 8 banana, 9 banana, 10. Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Res.
With your favorite hosts.
With your favorite hosts, Inelia and Larry. We got a little bit lost on that one.
Well, yeah, because we don't have our peepers.
And I couldn't remember what we were recording.
Is this the first hour, second hour?
Second hour class, or what is it?
Things have been kind of mooshing together.
Yeah, they have.
I have a lot of, fishing and Fossil Beach and Mystic Group.
People,
and
bears.
We have bears and we have the Shaman
Shack,
and we have Pure Heart and time there's a lot of time
Sunday
commitments,
timbers,
days, there's these meetings, there's
classes,
online, there's Zoom,
classes,
there's a second hour and a first hour.
Yeah.
And the one thing I know is that on Sunday we do the first hour. Because if we
Usually
don't, it really messes everything else up.
And it's already not early in the morning, so we're sneaking into the other activities.
Into pure, yes. It's like, which takes priority?
I know, right? Yes.
So that's kind of what I want to talk about is how do we what are our priorities? Honestly.
Drinking water.
And
my priority is to drink water.
Okay. So it's been said before,
yes,
that your priorities are important.
Who said that?
Tons of people.
Okay.
They, the big they.
The big they.
And the small they.
Priorities are important.
Your teachers, your
parents. Do you
parents.
know where the word comes from?
I do not.
Prior?
Before ities.
Before ities.
Before ities.
Yes.
Well, your before ities are very important, apparently. Your priorities are very important. And one of your priorities, you got to learn your priorities from your mom or your grandma or your dad or your grandpa or your religious institution or your spiritual teacher or your some authority.
Yeah.
They will help you with establishing these priorities. Your work, your priority from work is, be here on time. Yes. And then when you met that one, like you got there, then there's another priority. It's like, do stuff.
Do stuff.
And then when you're doing stuff, then there's another priority. It's like, do stuff well.
Yes.
And efficiently and quicker. And then when you do all that stuff, there's another priority. Now make sure everybody else is doing their stuff.
Right. Yes.
And pretty soon you have this stack of priorities, and some of them counteract or interfere with some of the other ones. So like doing all this other stuff means it's hard for me to get here on time. Yes. But your first priority is to get here on time.
Yes.
So we're scaling in our priorities. Now, as I have, because we are speaking a little bit to, I wonder who it is that listens to us.
If you listen to us and there's a message, go to Telegram.
Oh.
Our Telegram channel is Inelia on Telegram. And tell us, we're listening. Okay. That's what you have to write. We are listening. Or I am listening.
So I'm wondering who we're talking to sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
It's like when I say set your priorities, here's our priorities, and then some people's priorities is to get to work on time. It's like some people's priorities don't have anything to do with work. It's like my first priority is raising the frequency of the planet or some,
other thing. You're talking about my priority, right?
That's an example.
Yeah. That is, I suppose, that becomes before everything else.
Right. So what I'm digging into is which is the priority that comes before everything else. Mm-hmm. That is the lead priority. Mm-hmm. So all the other things not take second seat to, but all the other things support that thing, that first priority. And from that first priority comes other priorities, right? It's like you want to do that, but you also want to do that in a way that, isn't debilitating to you. I mean, it is on the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting because priorities versus not even in the list, because it's just what you do, like breathing, right?
Yeah. Our ultra first priority is air to breathe.
Yeah. Like, and you have to drink water, you have to breathe air, right? You have to eat food and you have to sleep. those are physical priorities that you don't even think about. Maybe food. A lot of people think about food. And sometimes people think a lot about drinking. And some people think a lot about sleeping as well. But breathing is not high on the thinking priority unless you're doing like prana breathing or breathing meditations and stuff like that. Then it becomes a kind of priority.
The religion where breathing is praying.
Yes.
So you can't put me now.
Yeah. So that type of thing, then it comes up ahead on your mind and becomes a priority of some sort of change or alternative something around breathing, right? But everything is, for most people, me included, is just something you do automatically, right? So to me, raising the frequency of this planet, and before that, raising the vibration of the planet, making everything louder, they were not priorities. They were like breathing. It's just something you do, right? It's not even, yeah. So my decisions would be, can I breathe here if I do that? I guess, that would be kind of the question. Would that help me breathe better if I marry that person? So that's how weird that dynamic is on regards to priorities. And then, depending on our stage of life, at one point my priority was to make sure my babies were, even having babies, and then my babies were doing well. That was a priority for me. Oh my goodness.
PB, what's your priority?
PB, what's your priority, PB? Telling us? You told us. Okay, you can stop now.
Yeah, I know there's a dog out there, huh? It's probably chasing roosters. Yeah. And a fence. Yeah, and a Tiny telling you to tell. Now you're telling Tiny, or is Tiny telling you?
Yeah, priorities. So her priorities was let everybody know there's something going on out there.
First priority. Well, right now. But that's the thing, is these priorities are transient. It depends on the situation. Yes. Situational priorities.
They are. And some of them can last years because they're looking after the babies and making sure they're okay. That lasted years. And even today, even though they're adults, most of them are adults, every day is still the same equation, right? It's still, are they doing okay? Is there anything I can do to...
Jeez, PB's redlining the thingy.
She's redlining it, yeah, the recording.
Okay, PB, I got it. Thank you. It's enough.
So, yeah.
Usually when you get interrupted, that means you're into something important.
Very important. So priorities, when people say, what's my priority in life? They usually start thinking something permanent, when priorities are very fluid and change from moment to moment even sometimes, right?
Right.
That's the first thing in the morning. Your priority is to wake up, right? And then plan your day or even do the day.
Some people's first morning priority is coffee. Some people's first priority in the morning is, what am I going to do? My first priority in the morning is connect with my body or with the universe, or my first priority in the morning is to set the tempo for the day so that the day follows nicely, or they have a routine. Yeah. And the routine supports their priority of the day. So my priority for the day is, say, the first thing you're thinking of is your children. Mm-hmm. My priority is to wake up in the morning when the first thing I do is focus on what I'm going to do to support my children. I have to wake them up, they need clothes, they have to clean, there's this long list of things around the school. Hey, shh.
Should we let her out? No, because then she'll run out of the house.
Then she'll run over there, and then she'll get out, and then she'll run straight for the road.
Yes. No.
She ain't going out.
No.
I got it. Just come up here.
She's looking at us.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I guess the reason I want to talk about priorities is that there's questions. It's like this, the survival is the highest priority. And
that can be highly manipulated and hijacked by others to make their priorities your priorities.
Yes, that's true. That's true. As they say, the welfare of the people is the alibi of tyrants. I'm doing this for your own good. They do. The big they.
The big they.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
They say that.
You know.
They say a lot of things.
They do.
That one is an observation on the activities of tyrants.
Yeah.
The alibi of them, you know, welfare of the people.
Yeah.
Anyway, they call that a priority. That's their priority, but it isn't. Their priority is something else.
Mm.
I think part of our priority discussion is identifying people's priorities, right? Mm-hmm. Also.
Well,
so when you're meeting someone, what's their
it's
priority? Like our priorities and agendas.
Do they match, or not even the same, but are they compatible? Right?
I don't know.
Because I've never met anybody whose priority in life is the same as mine.
I've met people who say after meeting you that becomes their new priority.
But when you look at it and see what they're doing and what they're getting up to, it obviously isn't.
Maybe they're just not good at carrying out their priorities.
Are you feeling a little bit defensive?
No. I'm just tapping into the listeners and saying, wait a minute.
Yeah,
maybe I'm not so good at it yet. Maybe I'm still practicing.
Yeah, you're tapping into the listeners. Yeah. Sure. I don't think my priority is in any way superior to any other priority. It's just mine. Mm-hmm. And if people want to copy it and integrate it into their lives, that's their business. It's not something they should do, not do, or whatever's, right?
Okay.
I think that there's a couple of things that priorities change all the time, and also that's a natural, normal way of doing things, depending on your life stage and everything about what you're experiencing. For example, if you fall off your boat in the middle of the ocean, your priority is to stay afloat, right? So in that moment,
to some degree, your priority is to stay afloat, so you continue to fulfill your first priority, which was raise the frequency of the planet. You can't do it from being drowned.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's the type of thing that to me are priorities, and I think the more we relax about it and realize that they're flexible and fluid, and also that they can be hijacked by others, and to watch out for that, and then I think we're good.
We're good about priorities?
Yeah.
You lost me. You were talking and then all of a sudden I got moved to a different dimension or something, and now I heard you finish, and I think you've concluded with something, but what did you conclude? I lost it.
Oh no. Okay.
Let's take it by step. Okay. So we have a priority in our life.
Yes.
You have your priority, which is superseding all other priorities. Is that how you would describe it?
Pretty much, yeah. But I don't think that's a common thing. I don't think that's a common thing for people. Although it can be. So I'm
sure people have a priority.
That trumps every other priority. Like addicts, for example.
Yes. Like addicts have a first priority is to find drugs, for example, right? Or feel better, or not feel sick. That's the kind of thing. Is like the priority is shifting, but the thing they do is the same.
The same, yeah.
So the first priority was to escape from,
feel great,
tension, or escape from, or celebrate, or whatever. But the answer is always the same answer.
Yeah, drugs.
Yeah. Escape from feeling terrible, drugs. Escape from the consequence of not having some drugs. Right.
Yeah, so that becomes the physical priority.
The priority becomes drugs, and all the other things lead to that, right?
Everything else is secondary to that.
So they're very priority. That's their priority.
Pretty much.
I'm starting to lose the
word?
The word, it's dissolving into meaninglessness. Have you ever experienced that?
So, Larry's experiencing an expansion of awareness in dissolving out of the singular, and he's finding it really hard to concentrate.
Okay.
How do you know that's happening?
Good, because of your first priority.
Yes. I occasionally, when I step into that priority, occasionally going to closer to my natural frequency, and that can throw people into an altered state of awareness very quickly. And I know that other people, when they have that kind of consequence happens, they have exploited it, because just because you have that kind of nature, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a good person, right? It's like you expand your awareness, and it could be done in very different ways. And those people around you go into an altered state, or like the frequency, your frequency expands, or something happens, right? But they don't necessarily match the personality of the person as a good person. But some of them do. Some of them are actually really good people, and they have been able to break the spell of what's real for many, many other people. And I think that when you experience what Larry's experiencing right now, which is that expanded awareness state, it's part of that breaking the spell, right? And part of breaking the spell is looking at priorities, and where do those come from? Where did that priority come from in your life? But not so much in an analytical self-analysis type of way, but more in there it is, I can feel it, it's in my body, and how is it serving me? How is it serving others? Where did it come from? And then you follow the energy line and find it, and you go, no, I don't think so. I don't want that's my priority anymore. Or, yeah, I really like it. I've met people, I remember even from school, I met people whose priority was to please the people in power, like the teachers, getting A++, and all that type of stuff, right? And pleasing their parents and whatever's. And others whose priority was to not be put into like the child services or family services because they were being neglected or whatever, right? Because they never went to school. So there were different priorities, and they were that varied. And then, I haven't really worked in many companies, but I did see that people who worked in companies, their priorities, at least when they were in the office, were very specific. And even now I've met people who work in organizations or companies whose priorities for the company or the work they do is so big that their children and their wife or their husband become secondary or thirdary, fourth-thirdary, or even down there in the tens, So it's a very, when you start looking at why do I do this, and those will look at whys as well, the priorities of our experience can really dictate how we interpret the world, right? Because even reality is this really real, right? Or are we dreaming right now? Is it different to an astral world, or a different type of world, or a different dimension? Is it different, or is it the same? Is it just as illusionary or not, right? And I find that most of the time I just switch off all those senses and allow people to allow is a very kind of patronizing word to use in this context, but allow in my field, right, people to have their experiences that they have prioritized. But sometimes it just gets really kind of, I don't know if the word is exhausting, right? Or it's almost like watching the same movie 20 times, and it's not a particularly interesting movie, but you're forced to watch it.
Back in the day, you turned on the TV, there was only 3 channels or 4, and the other 3 don't have anything you can tolerate, so that you're stuck with the one that actually has something you can tolerate.
And this repeats.
Yeah. It's better than no TV.
Yeah, so the priorities aspect,
Yeah.
when you have a good priority, it can get you through, and you can understand why you do things a lot of the time. Especially when you realize, wait, that's not my natural priority. This is not actually what I came here to do. This is something else. And this is what I actually came here to do. And most people I've met so many people who will say, oh, my kids, I'm so stressed out. I want to be a good father or a good mother. And I've done everything, but my kids are turning out to be this, and that. I don't know what I did wrong. And my son wants me to move to blah, blah. And if I don't, then he's saying I'm this and that and the other and whatever's. And I asked them, okay, were you born to this lifetime to be a good father? Is that your priority in life? Is this your mission in life? Were you born to be a good father or a good mother to this person? Right? And I haven't had anybody who said yes. They go, oh, and they stop and they look at it. Oh, I didn't. I came to Earth to do something else. And then you go, okay, so do that something else. And don't put so much attention on fulfilling the other thing that is actually not what you came here to do or be. That can be like a secondary one.
Yeah, you don't have to abandon one in order to take up and continue with the other. Yeah. They can be complementary.
Exactly, but it's not like you need to sacrifice everything. You got to sacrifice
all things for this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, and that's where the artificial priorities come in. But that's also where human body priorities come in. It's like human bodies have a first priority of survival. Mm. And survival will trump all other priorities. So it doesn't matter what... well, no, that's not true, actually, because duty can override...
Duty can. On a physical level, elemental, physical body elemental especially.
And duty is the priority. It's also, in some ways, artificially induced through techniques. There are techniques you can use to introduce duty as highest priority, higher than survival, higher than even be a good father. Because how could you be a good parent if you're dead?
Right.
They say, well, you'll be a good parent if you're dead because their children can grow up in a free country and we're going to give them $150,000 when you die. So there you go. I mean, they could come up with ways to answer the question because naturally, you inquire, it's like, well, how does this work? And when you get to the first layer of inquiry, it's like, oh, okay, I guess so. But
there's another, I did have an example that's more concrete.
Okay.
So there was this lady who wrote a book, and by writing this book, her daughters stopped talking to her. Yep. They said that they didn't want her to do that book in the first place, that she did it against their wishes, and now they weren't going to talk to her anymore, ever again. And then one of the daughters kind of forgave her, in quotation marks, right? Forgave her. And started having communication with her again. And somebody offered this woman, this author, to do a movie from the book, right? And the daughter said, you do that, and this time I'll never talk to you again, ever. That's it, right? It's over forever. So the woman had to decide, and that's what the conversation was. What do I do? If I make this with this movie about this thing that expands people's awareness and really brings good information onto the planet, my daughter will never ever speak to me again. And that's when I said, well, what did you come here to do? Was your mission to spread this message, or was your mission to be the perfect mother for this woman? Right?
Adult woman,
yeah. Very adult. I mean, the daughter's in her 40s or 50s,
Maybe even adult bully woman.
And she said, wait, no, I didn't come here to make this woman happy, right? My daughter happy. I actually came here to spread this message. There you go then, right? So I don't know what happened between them, but that's the type of examples of priorities and how some people can manipulate those priorities to stop you do stuff. And it's like, if we try to psychoanalyze and say, well, why? I mean, what was so wrong about this message that the daughter would never speak to her again, and this and this and the other? It's like, it's irrelevant. It's really irrelevant. Because it's like, who does that? And I think that's why the word bully came into your mind, right?
A little bit of bully, yeah, because bully using the priority they assume, which is family is the first and most important, making your children comfortable is your first priority.
Yeah.
And that would make me uncomfortable. And so you shouldn't do it if you're a good mother.
If you're a good mother, you'll not do this. Yeah.
Because it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's something that I, remember I was watching some of these videos, the us them videos you were talking about, and that is what one of the keys that comes in often is you have to stop doing that because it makes these people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter to the quote unquote law enforcement officer whether or not there's a law against it. It makes them uncomfortable, so you have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no account for the person doing's, their comfort or discomfort. That makes them comfortable, and how is that superseded by somebody else's comfort?
Well, I can tell you that anytime any of my kids told me if I didn't do something I was a bad mother, I used to say, well, I'm a bad mother then. Deal. And that's the second part, because a lot of the time we want to be liked, and it's an egoic construct that, that's been manipulated. Right?
By them?
Yeah.
They?
Yeah. The children or whatever.
Whoever them is at the point, at that time.
Yeah.
So really, I guess what we're talking about is manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about priorities being manipulated.
Yes.
And the manipulation of your priorities to get you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do, or even forgo your priorities.
Yeah.
By trying to supersede your priorities with a higher priority.
Right.
A priority that is...
And then sometimes it just is a little reminder.
A reminder?
Yeah. Well, what is your priority right now?
Yeah, when you get lost.
Mm-hmm.
You're going like, I go over here, and I go over here, and I go over here, and I go over here. Why am I doing all this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, what's your priority?
Exactly.
Oh.
Just sit down, chill, and just think, what is your priority right now? Right? Just what is it? What is your priority, Larry?
Right now?
Yeah.
We have to continue the momentum of our podcast and our conversations so that they don't take a second seat to everything else.
Yeah. And that's why you're sitting today and we're doing recording, right?
Yeah, 700 things that also need attention, but they are less priority.
Yeah.
This first priority is this on Sunday before evening. Yeah. Before busyness,
Yes.
Because once busyness hits, then disengaging and disentangling when we have our conversation, we're got too many fields of energy in.
Yeah.
At the same time, so it becomes confusing for
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that becomes my Sunday morning priority, which impacts a lot of things. Like if I have fishing involved, then I need to try to arrange it so that I'm in. Or we have done our Sunday morning on a different day.
Yeah.
Which so I think we did it once or twice, did we?
Yeah.
We did Sunday morning on Monday morning before.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did Sunday morning on Wednesday or Thursday.
We did, yeah. Recorded, pre-recorded so that we would have the weekend because there was something else happening.
Driving.
I think it was driving, yeah. We weren't going to have
a quiet space.
The quiet space,
yeah. So, I wonder if we wrote out a list of priorities, if it would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I think that would be really good to do, actually. That, let's say, your top 10 priorities in life that you think are in for this moment. So you put the date on it, right? You write down your 10 top priorities. And then you do one for the actual day. What are my 10 priorities today? And then you write those down and see if they, or even for this week or this month. And then you can see, do they match? Right?
Yeah, I think that do
they match?
Yeah, I think you can get bogged down in minutia of like, my priority is to breathe. Like, we can drop all of those.
Yeah, the little ones, yeah. The automatic ones don't.
The automatic ones we shouldn't
especially
really
individuals
count so
who say, okay, my new priority in life is to deliver the message of empowerment.
Okay.
So that would be, okay, that's good. now do your priorities for today. And then you do them for today, and then you go and see, where is it? And how many of those priorities for today reflect your life priority of delivering the message of empowerment?
I think the word that you might be using is also priority and action. So my priority is thus, and my action is thus. Does that support my priority?
That also, that would be also helpful. But for me today, my priority today, I have to wash my hair. I have to make sure that people feel welcome during our Sunday lunch. My priority is to figure out part of my characters for D&D, the Dragons and Dungeon group that we got going at the Peninsula. My priority is also to drink enough water, and for others that might be automatic, but not for me, so I have to put it into my priority list. And my priority, to check in with Larry to see how he's doing during the day and stuff like that. So do those match the deliverance of message of empowerment for the planet? And when I look at the underlying energy for all of those priorities, my answer is yes. Actually, it does. Right? So, but that's after a lifetime of functioning in that way. And the moments and times when I stepped out of that and made something else my priority, everything went pear-shaped. Everything went wrong in my life. Like literally it went wrong. Seriously wrong. So it's one of those things. It's like, to me, it is a navigational tool, right? When I look at my priorities and then see, and then also it's like, even from a more micro perspective, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and I know technology is being used, but I start thinking of really negative things or experiences I've had in life, like traumatic experiences, and they come into my mind, and I start thinking about them, remembering them, and of course my entire body starts going into that low frequency trauma. And after a few seconds or minutes, I go, wait, why am I thinking these things? Do they support delivering the empowerment message on the planet? No, it doesn't actually. And I discard them. And we're talking about deep traumas that people have PTSD over, right? So it's like, does it serve? No, actually it doesn't. Boom, gone. So from that perspective, to me, it's a very, very powerful tool. Now, for some time, my priorities were different. And like I said, everything went pear-shaped. Even when it was my priority is to make sure my children are well looked after this today and feel loved and cared for and everything else. When that became my priority in the mornings, it wasn't good. Right? It just became exploited. It was literally at a frequency that it got exploited by others. And I got manipulated by others. I stepped into a soup of victim-aggressor stuff that was extremely confusing to me, right? And then, because my priorities were off. And as soon as I got back on track and it was like, no, actually, this is my priority, then not only was I really good at making sure my kids had food and hugs and cuddles and lots of chats and lots of love and everything else, but also my frequency wasn't being able to be manipulated, right? So, like you said earlier, they're not necessarily incompatible, and they can be compatible, right?
Right. So, just because your first priority is this doesn't mean the other can't happen.
Exactly, yes.
But if you have the other thing as your priority and it interferes with the first, then that's a problem. That's where the problems come in.
Yeah.
And so when people are recognizing they have problems going on, it's like, hey, why aren't things right? Something is off.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to examine priorities.
Priorities.
So one of your secondary items has become your primary priority.
Yeah.
And that can be one of the things that will interfere.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not in line with the reason you came here to be born here on the planet, it's going to throw you off. And your reason doesn't have to be delivering the message of empowerment to the planet.
That's what I want to ask you. Wwhy do people come here?
So
give me the top
priority?
10 reasons people are incarnated on Earth.
Well,
At this, let's say the top 10 reasons, just people, humans, that's humans are physical bodies with a soul, body, right? Those, why did they incarnate on this planet at this time? Top 10 reasons. Let's go for 10.
All right. So basically,
Let me get my hands in the right spot.
So basically,
I don't know how to do that.
So basically,
1. Ready?
You have to have a more reduced focus.
Yeah.
Because that is too broad.
The question is too broad?
Yes. So to me, what's important is not so much what every human being is here to do. The reason is always the same. It's just one priority. To have a physical experience. Okay? In this physical universe. To have a physical experiences in this physical universe of connection. That's what I came here to do. Now, when I think about the top 10 reasons why people are here being born, my focus and attention is on light workers. Because actually, quite honestly, I don't care about the rest.
Okay.
Or their priorities. I don't care about their priorities. Because some of them are to be an addict, or to be a father, or to be a mother, or to be a mountain climber, or, those are the priority. They were born here in this lifetime, or maybe even 10 lifetimes, or maybe 1,000 lifetimes to have that experience. But the light workers on the planet during the split, that's what interests me. And I know what their priority is. To express their true frequency on this physical universe and have experiences that reflect that frequency. And that is the number one priority for light workers on Earth today.
Okay, so having said that...
So what did I say?
That's the thing. Can you say it again? But say it in a way that can be remembered. More than a few seconds.
Larry, of course
try,
you remember.
Honey. Just try.
You
try it
remember.
again. Well, the point is that people that are listening are now listening a little bit more attentively. Because,
yeah, of course, that's your excuse. Yeah.
Because up until now, they kind of we're just feeling the pleasant experience of expansion of awareness, the pleasant feeling of listening to you speak. And then tuning into the functional part, it's a little bit, it takes a different narrowing of focus. So try to say it in a narrower way for a second.
So,
to them,
to our audience?
Yeah.
Well, you repeat it, honey, for our audience. What happened? Did you get expanded again?
Yes, honey. I'm pretty sure I know what you said.
Okay, let's go for it. Let's see.
But it kind of makes you smile, of course.
Okay.
It makes you smile. It makes you go a little bit teary. Your emotional body gets activated a bit.
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
You came here to I don't remember. Something about experiencing a high frequency of yourself.
No, not exactly.
Yeah, like that. Try it. See? We'll listen this time. I promise. We'll all listen closely.
Everybody's listening closely?
Listen carefully. Here's the first priority for the light workers who came to this planet right now. This is their first priority. This is why and what they are here for.
What you are here for.
That's right.
The reason you're here is to express your true frequency.
I remember that now.
On Earth, and have that frequency reflected back to you in the form of experiences, high frequency experiences on the physical universe.
Okay, now, hopefully we all heard that.
Can you repeat it?
No. But I'm ingesting it.
You okay?
I'm absorbing
You
it.
okay? You okay?
I've heard that if you say it 3 times, it sticks.
Yeah?
I have heard that. Can you try again?
No.
Come on now. No. Don't let us all hanging, honey.
No.
One more time.
No.
Something about you're here for expressing your true high frequency? Or true frequency?
Your true frequency.
Your true
frequency
is high because you're a light worker out from the planet.
Exactly.
So to express your high frequency nature. Express your, I don't know, got lost again.
It's okay, honey.
Try, please.
No.
Honey, don't make us rewind it.
You can rewind it.
Just tell us one more
Twice.
time.
I mean, we use different words even.
You're doing good, but obviously you haven't quite made it through. So try again.
Maybe somebody can translate it.
Just try again. Just try again. Try to say it in human.
Oh my gosh.
The smaller.
Smaller. Oh, I can't do it.
Okay, a little bit bigger then. Try making it too big, so it's no hope of me understanding it. Maybe then that little bit of ego that I have, will say, oh yeah, then?
Try me.
Okay, do it that way.
Okay, you're a divine eternal being.
Yes.
Extremely high frequency.
Okay.
You decided to come into...
liking it. Keep going. It's working.
You decided to come to be born during this place on Earth.
Yes.
It was going to be...
I did decide that, yeah.
It was actually going to be a global ascension, but it was decided to do a split.
Well, the nature of us, we're open for negotiation because we don't want to really impose on people.
Exactly.
Right,
so, you decided to do this. Your priority is to come into this physical universe on Earth now, during the split, and express that divine experience, the divine eternal beingness that you are, that high frequency nature of your beingness.
Just express
it, and then have and see and experience that expression reflected back to you in the physical universe. Did that work?
Yes.
Ego happy?
Yes.
Excellent.
We're so good at this.
Yes.
All right. So having made that, having voiced it 3 times, it's solidly, betterly, more well remembered. In a way, you can embody that as a priority that cannot be manipulated.
Right.
Because how are you going to manipulate it?
I know, can't.
It's unmanipulatable, which means it is a prime priority.
Yeah.
We'll call it a prime priority.
A prime priority. Number 1 priority.
Right. Now, having said that, it can in some ways be manipulated.
How?
By saying that to do that you need to do this, and this thing is something else. Now, when you examine your priority, your prime priority, you examine who's telling you this is what you got to do it. Then
you go and practice your truthing tool that you learned in a truthing class.
Is this true or is this distraction? Right?
Yes. Yeah, is this true or is this manipulation? Is it accurate?
Yeah.
Will it actually support my priority of expressing my natural high frequency nature?
Yeah, part of all of this becomes definitions.
Yeah.
And how you understand the language. Some people will understand the language of what you just said as like being super religious, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you express it, because that's the highest form of divinity divinity.
Religious. Yeah.
What's what
external divinity.
An external divinity, especially.
Yeah.
That, whatever that's will is the highest frequency will.
Right.
Does that truth out? Could it be there is a being or beings who do express a high frequency real, and copying or mimicking them is higher frequency? In a sense, no, because that's not yours.
Right.
And you came here
to do yours.
To be yours. And your high frequency times
expression.
2 billion.
Right.
2 billion others high frequencies creates a chorus.
Yes. Of angels.
A chorus of angels.
Yes.
Right. Not a chorus of one repeated by many. Because a chorus of one repeated by many is not.
It's not a chorus of angels.
What we're here for. Okay, just thought I would follow that path.
Yes.
To its, examining the priority.
Yeah.
Okay, so one question we might ask, how do we identify, how do we know, how do we recognize when we are being our authentic self, right? And not someone else's idea of what our authentic self ought to be if it is a high frequency of self. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, one of the tools that's so easy, right, that we've taught in Walk With Me Now is to stop yourself and say, why am I doing this?
Okay.
It's so simple that you think, oh, yeah, but those are questions for, life, purpose, and super complicated, and such a simple question is not going to answer it, but actually it does.
Okay.
So when you're having, an argument with your girlfriend, then you can go, why am I doing this?
Usually the answer would be because you're stupid.
Yeah.
You don't win those.
No.
Even if you're right, you lose.
Because you're never right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that can be manipulated too when people refuse to be wrong. My brother, actually, even when he was little, he's older than me, but even as a young child, it didn't matter if he was wrong. It didn't matter if he realized half through the argument that he was wrong. He continued arguing his side. Because for him, what's important was that he was right. Not that he was actually right.
Just that he was accepted as, okay, you win.
Yeah.
You're right.
You're right, yeah. And of course, me being me, I picked up that was the actual priority and not the actual data, but the priority was for him to win his argument. So, yeah, I would tease him for hours and he'd go red in the face, arguing stuff,
It's really hard to argue against the real truth and hold your position tight.
But he used to manage it, Yeah.
That's part of what I was watching in those shows too, is holding on to being right, even though you know you're not.
And sometimes it's funny to watch a person when you ask them a question and then you can see there's a history of them having to defend their answer.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too.
It's like, the other day I asked somebody something and this person got all red and a little shaky and gave me his answer, right? And I'm like, oh, interesting. And he was like,
waiting,
ready for the next
shoe to drop.
Yeah, like for him to be attacked or something for his viewpoint, which never happened, right? But you can tell sometimes when that happens, to me, it means that that's not their true answer, that's somebody else's answer.
And yeah, carrying someone else's answer, it'll work for a while, but eventually, what normally happens is that person whose value you're carrying, since they are carrying a value that they're trying to get you to hold, right? That at some point they either disappoint or
fall off their horse,
or make a mistake, or who knows what.
The pedestal gets broken.
The pedestal is broken, and then you're left floating in, well, I
limbo.
thought this, wait a minute, now what do I do?
Right.
Because they weren't genuinely actually yours.
Right.
Because it turns out people change, and, pedestals are easily knocked over.
Yes, yeah.
So it's important to have your authentic, genuine, actual selves as, carrying you. But I suppose I can see where they're useful for a short period of time. If you're a little bit lost, like carry this one for a while, take you through across the river. Now you're across the river and you can swim. You can stand on the ground right now. Yeah. Okay, you're on the ground now. Let's examine this stuff.
Right. Yeah. So priorities are important, I think, but make sure that you understand that they're flexible, they're fluid, and that they're the true priority. If you find your true priority, and I already told you what it was, so you don't have to find it, you already know what it is. And you go, yeah, but that's your priority, you're pushing it onto me, like blah, 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 blah. Fine, but you're listening, so I know you're here. And people was like, I don't know where I'm here. Can you tell me? Yeah, sure, this is it. And a lot of the time they do push against it. But now that you know your priority, and you can truth it, and you'll find out that it's true. But if actually it isn't, and it's actually to become a magnificent mountain climber, that's awesome too. That's perfect, right? I've had people who...
That isn't counter to the
it
other.
doesn't counter.
That is possibly that fullest expression of that.
Yes, but if you become like a drug addict, then no. But your priorities will change because you fell for one of the blue pills, right?
They have a lot of colors now. I'm not sure which ones all of them are.
Right. Yes.
There's red and blue, and there's black, and there's white now.
So yeah, and that's fine too. I met so many people who had forgotten and lost their priority while they were born.
Prime priority.
Their prime priority while they were born, and were playing something else completely, right? And for their entire life, and they died and they continued doing that. And you could feel that the moment they died, they went, buggers, dang it. All right, let's try again. Yeah.
Right.
So there's no judgment. It's not easy because we're on a split, and the nature of the earth is still a light dark paradigm experience of the human collective. So it's not easy to step into your true priority right now, and there's no judgment. Nobody's going to judge you because you fell off it, But if you want to step back
you might
on
judge
it,
yourself.
Oh, probably, yeah. But if you want to step back onto it, and you're way over there somewhere, it's going to be a little bit of a journey, I think.
Well, you could just start in the morning. You wake up in the morning, and you're like, okay, prime priority.
And
let me look at it
write
again.
It everywhere. Put it all over your ceiling, your walls, everywhere.
It's like, oh, yes, that's my prime priority. Now, do these other priorities, do they support that one?
Yeah.
Is this priority supporting this one? Is it supporting my prime one? Is it supporting it? Is this? And if it's yes, then do it. If it isn't, then, just drop it.
Just drop it, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated.
No, it doesn't.
But life does get in the way. And, if you get off track, so what? Wake up in the morning and start over. It's like, okay, prime priority. Let me try again. Yeah. You don't have to, die and start over. You can just go to sleep and wake up and start over.
Exactly.
Every day is a new day.
Yes.
And, yeah. You make it halfway through the day on prime priority, and then you lose track. Okay, big deal. You got half. That's better than zero.
Exactly.
Maybe make it an hour, maybe 5 minutes.
And I have met people who are so off track from their priorities, so far, far, far away from the path they came here to have, that they despair. Right? And they go, I'm so off track. There's no way that I can get back to my priority in this lifetime, right? And you know what that is? That is just a firewall.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a firewall to keep you there. Because there's nothing on the planet that you cannot do. So I don't care how far and all your relationships and all your work and everything that you think is keeping you, you can actually transform where you are right now. Just like that. And just through the tool of, this is my priority. Just by you changing that chip inside of you, your entire environment starts effortlessly transforming.
Magically even.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does. So when people have things happen to them, or they're in the situations, like one of the questions I teach them to ask is, where am I not connecting? And also it's like connecting with your true self and connecting with your priority in life, but connecting with others, Where am I not connecting with my higher self? Or starting there, even that. But yeah, if you write out what we talked about earlier, in the 3 forms that I spoke it, right? Yeah. Just rewind, write it out, or maybe we can put it in the notes, the 3 ways of expressing it, and just print those out, right? Or write them out by hand in script so that it sticks.
Maybe sing them.
Even sing them. And then put them all over your house or your bedroom or whatever, your computer, covered, your iPad or your phone, right? Just put them everywhere. Eventually that message is going to start breaking down your firewalls and your barriers to achieving it. Because literally, you're a millimeter away from your true reason for being here. It doesn't matter what your life situation is right now. It doesn't matter what it is.
Or what
You're
it is up until now.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's a millimeter. Like earlier, like I said, I've had experiences that other people suffer deep traumatic stress disorder from in life. But I don't have it. I don't have that. Right? I don't have that. Why? Because I know my own priorities. And when those things start seeping in for whatever reason, and I know there's technology being used to lower the frequency of the human collective right now, and I know the mechanics, but when you're in it, you don't think about those things. You're in it.
You're in it. From in it, you can't see it.
Exactly, and then I remember, wait, does this serve my reason for being? No, actually it doesn't.
No.
Gone.
Drop it.
Yeah, it's gone, literally. And you think, oh yeah, but then it's not true traumas. And it's like, yeah,
okay,
whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's a firewall too, right?
Yeah, if you only had the experience
traumas,
I had.
Yeah, my traumas are better than your traumas.
Mine are way more important than yours. Yeah, I know. Well, mine are, but no, they're not.
Yeah. We had a game, I don't know if it's like a Chilean game or a family game. I don't actually know where it came from. In my family, when we would hear somebody say a sad story about themselves, right, with the teary eyes, and like, when I was a kid, blah, 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 And then we would go, well, when I was a kid, we lived in a cardboard box, right? And then the person says, yeah, but when I was a kid, blah, blah, and we say, well, when I was a kid, we lived in a cardboard box in the middle of the highway. And then it gets just increasingly worse and worse and worse. When I was a kid, we were in a cardboard box in the middle of the highway, in the middle of the rush hour. And it just got worse and worse, the stories, Or the other one that my family would do is like, as soon as somebody started, self-pity, we would go, and that was a response. What did that create in the children, right? What did that create in our family? It created a sense of, don't self-pity.
Yeah.
It's totally ridiculous, and we're going to laugh about it. And then people didn't indulge in it anymore. They just didn't, right?
It's funny that you mentioned that game of making the story a little bit more worser and worser and worser, because this last fishing trip, I did that with a friend.
Yeah.
He was texting this or that, and I said, oh yeah, well, I had this and a nail in my chair, and my boot has a leak in it, and my pants are dirty and I can't wash them, and I don't have no food, and my coffee got cold and a fly jumped in it.
That is worse.
Yeah, it was worse.
Your coffee got cold and the fly jumped into it?
The fly jumped into it.
Oh my God.
So he was cracking up. Like, oh, forget it. You win.
Get it, yes, exactly.
But he figured out the game, so next day, his things were getting really bad. Man. So that's a good game. I liked it. Took the pity party right over.
It does.
It turned a pity party into a party.
Into a party, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Now you know.
So there are tools and things that we naturally do. And I don't know if that game is something that is common in other places, but it certainly did the job in our family, because we had a freaking awful life. We were playing that game when we were homeless, living in a cardboard box, not in the highway.
Well, at least you know where to put your box.
Yes. We didn't put it in the highway, man. So funny.
Well, I think we got enough food for the fodder for the second hour.
And
the second hour, that's where, in case you haven't listened, the second hour is where Ilia and Adelina, who listened to the first hour and say, oh man, and oh man, and oh man, and I want to talk about that. They start to, expand the conversation.
Absolutely, yes.
From another perspective, and an interesting perspective too. Yeah. This is also I'm going to say a little less censored, because, in the public version, you censor yourself a little bit, mostly because
you're going to get
we're talking to, in some ways, someone who's got their finger on the button. Yeah, like, so how do I talk to this person who's got their finger on the button and, doesn't make their buttons
Yeah.
Well, you self-censor it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not to the point where you can't understand what we're talking about, but to the point where they can't hold me to what I just said.
Right.
I didn't say it.
So,
A little bit. But anyway, second hour, we don't have that problem.
Right.
We don't have that, and I won't call it a problem. We don't have that as a filter.
As a filter.
We just talk to you directly, and as us, we are your family, you're our family, we're talking to each other. We can talk about whatever we want.
And the actual true experiences and variables and actual real things that people bring up, right?
Right, because it's more of like a private conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So if you want to be part of that conversation, you can go to the Telegram channel or go and walk with me now if you want your question and you be part of the conversation, and subscribe. You can type in your questions or your example and, what do I do in this instance, right? Yeah. But even, it's like anytime that you feel that frequency going lower or you're going into that trauma or that bad memory or whatever's, you just remind yourself, I am an eternal divine being and I'm here to express my true frequency to facilitate this split, to facilitate the expression of that frequency on earth and to experience it myself. And then suddenly the other stuff just
less important
and it starts dissolving.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, honey, see you in the second hour.
Okay.
I love you.